Big 12 basketball season is upon us. I'm Blair Kerkhoff of the Kansas City Star. This is Rustin Dodd, who covers Kansas for the Kansas City Star. Rustin, let's get right into it. First weekend of Big 12 basketball and some mega games coming up, including KU against Baylor.
Yeah, KU opens with two home games, obviously, starting with Baylor on Saturday at Allen Fieldhouse. And I think I guess it's the way you want it to work out, where you play the big games at home, but it also puts a lot of pressure on you to win those games because you've got Baylor on Saturday, then you've got Oklahoma on Monday night, which could potentially be a 1 versus 2 matchup if Kansas takes care of business on Saturday against Baylor.
1 versus 2 because Michigan State lost this week to Iowa, and Michigan State had been number 1, Kansas number 2 in the AP poll, so absolutely could be a 1 versus 2. But Kansas would have to beat Baylor first on Saturday. Poll comes out on Monday. Another big game, of course, this week is Iowa State at Oklahoma on Saturday, and then the Sooners come to Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas State plays West Virginia also this weekend. Let's get back to the Jayhawks quickly, though. Sum it up for us, the non-conference. They lose the one game to Michigan State. They're coming off of a really good second half, I thought, against UC Irvine. What have you seen from the Jayhawks?
Yeah, I think big picture, it was a really successful non-conference season. I mean, obviously, they had their early loss, but then they sort of found something kind of during a stretch. The non-conference schedule was easier this year, so they didn't quite have the test. They still have Kentucky at the Champions Classic, but I think the guard play maybe was the biggest standout of the non-conference season. Devontae Graham and Frank Mason playing together. The offense sort of coming together as a whole and probably looking better than it has in years. I think there are some questions in the front court. Still kind of who's going to play. Bill Self says he's going to lean more on experience, at least for the time being. But some questions there. But I think overall, I think Kansas is, aside from the loss, probably can't be happier with the way they played.
That's interesting what Self said about leaning on experience, because I think at face value we think that there's more talent in the freshman class, at least among the big men, than there is in the upperclassmen.
Yeah, and I think Bill Self thinks that as well. It's just, are they ready to win now? And he's said this many times. He's not going to sacrifice losses for at least he doesn't want to lose games today just to necessarily develop guys. I mean, he wants to win every game. So for the time being, I think you're going to see Hunter Mickelson and Landon Lucas and those guys definitely in the front court.
Like I said, it's a big first weekend for the Big 12. I think Kansas State's one of the surprise teams in the league. The only losses in non-conference play for the Wildcats: North Carolina at Sprint Center, at Texas A&M, which is a top 25 team. Pretty good RPI start for the Wildcats. They play host to West Virginia on Saturday. West Virginia, I think, another surprise team so far in the non-conference play. It should be a terrific year for Big 12 basketball. Kansas bidding for its 12th straight conference championship. It's I've never ceased to be amazed by this streak that Kansas has. So follow the coverage of Kansas State, all the Big 12 and college sports in the print editions of the Kansas City Star online at kansascity.com.